Hello, FewCandy here, and welcome back to another episode of Cities Skylines. And here we are in Ducky Docks that you would have seen on the last episode, and you guys seem to really enjoy it. Thank you so much for all the comments and the views and the likes on this video. I had so much fun making this. As I said, industrial detailing is one of my favourite things, and I think it all came together pretty nicely. And for those of you who missed the stream as well, we have now incorporated the Optimised Outside Connections mod. And I have changed the capacity of the cruise ships, which has meant that that crazy chaos that was happening in Auridon's waters has now disappeared, and it's much more sensible levels of ships coming in. We're not getting this massive pile up in the middle. There's a little bit of a pile up, a little bit of a queue, but not too bad at all. So I think that has worked out nicely for Ducky Docks. And for anybody who missed the stream, we did complete this little area here. A little bit of high density residential, a couple of green cities, commercial assets, and some bigger hotels just to line that highway coming into the downtown here. Get those layers of height going on as we build up towards the skyscrapers there. But we did also do Trev's 1x1 commercial challenge. If you want to compete in that, there are details on my community tab. And do come and join us. Come and join us because this was a lot of fun to build live on stream. But for today, we are heading over to this area over here. And we are going to be doing something really quite special for Auridon. So I just want to say a massive shout out to Bobby London, who dropped a comment on the last video suggesting that maybe we consider doing a film studios. And as soon as he said that, it sparked something in my mind. So thank you, Bobby, for giving me a little spark of inspiration. And we are going to be doing a film studios in this area over here today. So just to start off with, I am going to extend our public transport networks and just work out the road layout for this area. So looking at this, I do want to upgrade a lot of these roads, I think, to tree-lined roads, because I think it would look a lot nicer. So I'll go ahead and do that. And I'm actually just going to place in the 4-lane road with medium, upgrade them all to that with the grass median. And this is going to surround our entire area where we're going to have our film studios. And the reason for that is I want to place in my own trees. I don't want the vanilla trees. And I also don't like the spacing necessarily of how those vanilla trees are like on these roads. So the trees actually that I think I would like to use for this are these ones, which are quite tall, quite nice, quite leafy, and we can make the spacing exactly as we like it by not using the new function that came with the Airports DLC release on that same date. New functionality added to the vanilla game where you can change those trees on the road, but you can't change the spacing, so that is why I am putting this in manually for now. So yeah, let's put that in all around these roads surrounding where our film studios is going to be. And so there we go. So I do want this to feel a little bit Hollywood. A bit Auridon wood. Can I say that? Hollywood? Maybe. So that's why I've gone for these tree-lined roads here. Make it feel a little bit more glitzy. This entire area is going to contain our film studios here. So I am actually just on the internal roads going to upgrade those to tree-lined roads as well. And I don't mind so much the vanilla trees in this because they're a little bit smaller, I think, which is a bit more appropriate for the internal workings of the film studio. Now we're just going to lay out a couple of additional internal roads here. Now I'd like these to be crossroads, so we will bring them out like that. In fact, I'll bring that just a little bit further. And then we're just going to curve this in nicely to meet this road here. And then again, we'll make some more connections. So we'll just bring that out and this one just a little bit further. And then we'll make a nice smooth connection between those two roads there. So that gives us a nice internal road structure. And right in the middle here, I would also like to just add a very small little roundabout. I'm just going to use a basic 2-lane road for this. We'll use Roundabout Builder mod and we'll make this pretty small, I think. So just about like that and add that into the middle. And of course, let's use Traffic Manager just to set up our roundabout properly, which also nicely gets rid of all those crosswalks, which we don't really want. Then we'll just use a tiny bit of node controller to just stretch these out just a little bit. I think 13 is fine here. A little bit less than I normally do, but we don't want it to take up too much space. And this could be a nice little central feature in the middle of our studios there. So now to bring in the public transport networks. So we have a monorail line ending up here, and we also have a metro station there. So I am going to bring in both of these, and we're not going to bring it into the centre of the studios. I feel like that is too much of a security hazard and definitely wouldn't be realistic. So we are just going to grab our monorail to start off with, and we're going to really simply, let's turn Anarchy on so that we can get this in nicely. We're just going to bring it out straight to about there, and then what I am going to do is bend it round this corner to cross over this road nicely here. And in fact, I think I will just do a straight bend like that, which gives us a reasonably smooth curve. I think we can just about get away with. And then we'll bring it in here and start to run it up this side of the road. Now, I'm thinking we'll probably put the monorail station right about here on the crossing. So let's grab our monorail station that sits against the road. And I think it would be nice actually to centralise it with the road coming in here. So let's do that. And then we can connect up the line there. And that'll give people access onto this road to get into the studios that way. And then of course we've got an opportunity to extend our monorail line out this way. And I already know what's going to go in there, but that will come in a later episode. Now I'm just going to make this bend a little bit smoother there because that was pretty tight for a monorail. So let's just bring that out a little bit more and we'll grab our freeform curve tool and we'll just bend that in to make a slightly smoother connection. Yeah, I feel like that's a bit better there. Now with the metro, so if I grab our lines, we have this one coming out here. Now I'm going to put high density residential assets into here. So I think it would be good to serve them with a bit of metro. And I'm thinking we're just going to put in a small metro station in the middle of here. I don't think it really needs any more than that. There we go. And then we'll go back to our tracks and just join that up. So it is pretty close to the other one, but I think with the high density residential here, it would be needed. And then the other option we have is to bring out another line from this metro hub here as well. So again, I'm just thinking I'm going to bring out a really simple metro station. In fact, we could use one of the content creator metro stations right about here. Yeah, that does actually fit into that space quite nicely. Perhaps like that is a little bit better. So we'll do that. And then over here by the studios again, I think we will just use a very simple metro station. I'm going to bring it out actually right on this corner, which might be a little bit dangerous because we do have the ring road running right about here, but we could always add pedestrian crossings going over if we need to. So I'll add that one in here and then we'll just join up those tracks. Okay, and then final thing to do is to extend our lines. Now I am actually going to extend this incredibly busy Williams Metro line all the way down here. And then we can just go through and add in our stops at here and then back at the Metro hub as well. And then of course we have this purple line. So let's again just extend that out to this station here and we can add our stops back in for this big station there. And then finally on the monorail, again, we'll do exactly the same. And we're just going to extend this line out round to film studios, so just like that, and then come back here and add in stops. So that should be set up quite nicely for public transit. We don't have one on this side, however we do have another metro line coming in here which we could bring out another stop, and in fact I think we will do that as well. I think we will pop this right on this corner here and then again we can grab our metro lines and bring that out. In fact we could just bring it straight across the water here. Don't think that's going to cause us any issues. And we'll just connect it straight into the metro hub up this way. And again with that line, I'm just going to extend the cruise ship line out to here. And that just gives them a few more options. It comes straight from the cruise terminals, the tourist, right to the movie studios. So yeah, there we go. All set up nicely. And we'll come back and do power in just a second. Now, just before I come on to the movie studio build, I do have massive residential demand. So I am going to go ahead and put some high density residential around these two blocks. Now, because this is not the focus of this episode and we have done a lot of high density residential recently in Auridon, I'm just going to do this off camera and you can see the end results in a second. And so there we go. So I have just used a Green Cities high density residential area here. Some little cute designs, trying to get different angles as we always do in Auridon. Nice big central park around the metro station there. And then just some regular high density residential over this side. So I'm trying to go for a little bit more of a rundown area onto this outskirts of the city here, right by the highway. And lots of detailing to bring in here, which we will do in the detailing time lapse to fill in some of these areas. Add some parking, some park. But yes, that will do for now. And that has helped to boost our population just a little bit. This residential demand is still super high, but we've started to get some industrial demand back, which is good news. So hopefully, as these buildings level up, that will start to level out a little bit. So now we can turn our attention to the main feature, the studio build. So just before we start, I thought I would take a little trip to Google Earth because in order to plan this build, I've done a lot of scouting out of different film studios. So to start off with, we are going to go to Pinewood Studios in London. So here we are at Pinewood Studios, and it is on the outskirts of London, so there's lots of greenery and residential around it. But really, looking at the types of buildings that we got here, most of these just look like big warehouses. Some of them some slightly nicer, older buildings, and there are, yeah, lots and lots of different warehouses in here, different sizes. And then we come on to these various little film sets as well that we seem to have here. So like this big circular one, whatever that one was, looks pretty cool there. We've also got over this side, we've got various different construction sites, another circular one here. We've got this nice park area as well in the middle of it and some old housing as well. So it's a complete mix of assets, but the vast majority of it really looks like warehouses. And then we've kind of got this random condo block in the middle. But when we look at the detailing all around it, I mean, there's just tons of trucks, containers, storage, rubbish seemingly everywhere as well, and that type of thing. So this is the type of vibe that we're going to be going for. Now, the other studios that I've been looking at are the Warner Brothers studios in Los Angeles as well. And so here we are there. And you can see there's tons of these studio type buildings. There's these posters up along the walls, along the edge, which I absolutely love. But again, very similarly, absolutely loads of trucks and that sort of thing lying around. And then we come on to these really, really cute little sets here. So like this little town centre. We've also got a bit of a historical one looking over here. Even some raised train line and that sort of thing. Again, another one over here. Looks like a bit of a New York street going on over this side. Disclaimer, I have never visited this. I know you can walk around. Got lots of parking around as well. And then, yeah, a nice little cute kind of residential neighbourhood as well within the studios there. But lots of parking, and again, all of the buildings around these different set areas tend to be these big studio type warehouses, huge buildings, that kind of thing. So that is really what we are going to go for here. And again, looking at all the props, yeah, just tons of RVs actually. A lot of these ones are lorries. Yeah, loads of that kind of thing. Lots of scaffolding as well around the set, which we'll try to replicate just a little bit. But that is the type of thing that we are after today, is pretty much exactly this. So we are going to try and replicate that now in Cities Skylines. So as anyone who's watched Auridon will know, my mantra has kind of been to try and use as many vanilla building assets as possible, and then quite a lot of workshop props and the such like to detail up around that, and try and stick to that so it's more relatable for those of you with less strong PCs and just with the vanilla game as well. So I will be continuing that here. However, I have introduced just one buildings pack, which is the Hollywood Studios pack by Polygon. And these buildings are just really, really nice. And I just couldn't resist putting these in because these are obviously made for Hollywood studios and such like. But they just absolutely work perfectly. And I can't really replicate that with any buildings, I don't think, in the vanilla game. So we'll be introducing a few of those. However, around that, we will still be using vanilla assets. So the first thing that I'm going to do is start to place in some of the larger warehouse style assets and also introduce actually some of the university assets into this area as well. So one of the first things actually that I want to place is actually a post sorting facility, which I know sounds a little bit strange. And you're going to have to just bear with me on this one. But this, I think, works pretty well in this area. If we just spin it around like this, because it's got all these delivery trucks, I think it's kind of believable that it could form part of a studios. Do you know what? I think actually we will move this metro across to the other side, and we're going to put this right on this corner so we get a nice framing off there. Because yeah, I think that works kind of well with the trucks and the warehouse style of buildings. Kind of looks like some of the buildings that we saw in the Hollywood studios. Now, one of the other ones is certainly the large warehouse as well. So I'm going to go ahead and place that one in. And we are just going to spin this around completely so that we've got the road on this side. But again, this looks like it could be a big studio inside with lots of the storage containers, trucks and stuff coming in and out. Yeah, I think that, again, is believable as a studio asset, even though it's not. We're going to use our imaginations with this build, certainly. Now, of course, we do want a road down to that. So I'm actually just going to grab the industrial road, I think, for this. We'll snap that into that node. Let's turn off road bending and we'll bring that straight out in front of the warehouse, just like that. It is quite a tight turn there, but we can use a bit of node controller just to sort that out. And then what we'll do here is we will also place this out in front of the postal sorting facility here, and we'll just bring the road up. That's a nice 90-degree angle like that and just join this one in. So that's giving all of those buildings a connection there. There's actually a couple of unique factories as well that I'd like to introduce here, and most of these we are going to have to turn off for the time being. But the printing press I think is quite a nice one. Got these nice logos on the front that you could imagine as sort of studio logos or the logos of a certain TV show, that sort of thing. So I think again we'll just place this nicely up to the road. In the detailing time-lapse we will be adding security gates to all 4 of the entrances into the studio area, so it will feel like a secure compound from that perspective. I think we'll have the printing press there. We'll sort out the road connection to it as well. So I think actually for this I'm just going to use one of the basic concrete roads. We'll just bring it straight out of this road here and along the front of the building like that to connect it in. Now another one of the unique factories I think works really well, and again this is somewhat surprisingly, is the sneaker factory. So again this is quite a tall bulky building here, very long. So again could be believable that it houses studios inside it. We've got Sneaker Ridge on the outside. Maybe let's imagine that that is some kind of TV show. But we'll just position this right in this corner up alongside this road like that, which gives us some nice walls along the edge there. And we'll sort out the road connection again for that in just a second. And then the final unique factory that I want to introduce is actually the clothing factory. Again, maybe a surprising choice, but it is also another big one that looks super modern. Looks like it could be a studio in my opinion anyway. It's, you know, we've got those truck delivery areas in here so that people can bring in their props or their scenery or whatever it is that they're recording. Pernu, maybe that's a TV show, who knows. But it is super modern looking. It's got this little decking up here as well, so you can imagine people from the studios working there and chilling out on their lunch breaks or the such like. So I think that will fit in quite nicely. Now, as mentioned, there's a couple of other university assets I'd also like to add in here. And actually, one of them, which I think makes a really, really nice entrance into this area, is this Modern Technology Institute, which is from the Green Cities DLC. It is a university building, so I'm actually going to turn this off because we've already got way too many universities in Auridon for the moment. But hopefully further down the line when our population increases, we can actually turn this on and get people moving in and out of here. But let's just position that nicely so that this wall is up against this edge. But what it gives us is this super cool globe in the middle, which I absolutely love. And now that I'm looking at it, I'm actually remembering we've got a big patch of oil right here. So I want to go ahead and remove that. So let's just do that. So we've got some nice grass colour underneath there as opposed to that oil texture, which I think just is a little bit out of place. So I think this creates a nice entrance to a movie studios. With the globe, it's sort of a little bit Universal style, isn't it? MTI, maybe that's the name of the studios. Who knows? And again, we'll be putting security gates on here so that it doesn't feel like it's too open to the main road. So let's just bring in a couple of road connections down to here so that these are all connected up. And just leave that like that for just a moment, because the other assets that I do want to introduce here are some of the campus DLC assets. So we do have our trade school area, if we go to districts, sitting right here over our downtown. So what I am going to do is just extend that upwards. So I'll just pull out a very small bit, and then I'm going to grab it into a slightly larger area. And then we can cut that off and it will still think it is part of that technology university. And I'm also actually going to do the same from the Liberal Arts Institute, because there are also some really nice assets from there that I would also like to introduce. So let's just bring ourselves a little bubble like that, and then we will cut off this district just back to there. So again, this thinks it's part of the Liberal Arts Institute, but in actual fact it is completely disconnected. But it does mean that we can plop in some of those assets, some of those buildings into this space. So starting off with the Liberal Arts buildings, the building I really want to introduce here is the Media Lab. Kind of appropriate as well for a film studios by the name. But we will put this on this corner here, and I'm actually going to have 2 of them because this building really quite nicely, actually, if we spin it around, merges very, very well. So we can do just a tiny bit of fusing here to get these in together. And we get this nice flow along the top, a little bit of interest in the roof as well. And similarly at the back, it's that really nice red brick. So I think that works pretty well there. We'll worry about road connections for those in just a second. And then the other liberal arts building that I'd like is the arts laboratories. So again, I'm just going to place that in here now. But what I'm actually going to do is spin this round just a little bit. And we're going to push this right up to the edge of the sneaker factory here. In fact, do a tiny, tiny bit of merging over that corner there, and the diagonal line does look a little bit funny, so I think we'll just bring that in a tiny bit further. Yeah, there we go, so that it's fully overlapping, and I think that therefore that looks all right like that. And again, that just helps to bulk out that building. Maybe it's administrative buildings in there, script writers meetings, that sort of thing. And then coming on to the Institute of Technology, we also have the Media Lab from here, which I think is a really lovely asset. So we will go ahead and place this in. And then we'll also introduce a library into here as well, because this is a really nice, big, bulky building, which I think kind of lends itself to this studios area. And we will just grab this and move this over just a tiny bit to create a little bit more space between those buildings, which gives us a little bit more detailing opportunities. Because, of course, around all of these and around the different sets that I will be putting in a minute, will be lots of car parks, RVs, trucks, detailing like that we saw on Google Earth. Okay, so next up, I want to start introducing some of these studio buildings. Now, these are unique buildings, so I'm going to use move it copy function so that we can replicate a lot of them. We are going to start filling some of these spaces with lots and lots of rows of these studios, exactly like we saw on Google Earth at the Warner Brothers Studios in Los Angeles. So that is what we will start with now. Now, this asset has a really nice wall up against the back of it. So if we just spin it round, I think this makes a really nice framing for this road. This is ultimately going to be the main entrance in here. And we do have another asset as part of this pack, actually, which I will just place now because it is super, super, super cute. We've got the little Hollywood Studios archways in here, which will just go over that road. And we'll put in a security gate behind it as well. Might have to get rid of that tree just right there. What this means is we're not left with a huge amount of space here. So let's just grab these nodes on this road and shift this over. And what I might actually have to do here is just convert this to a 1-unit road, because then it will give us just a little bit more space and actually fit them in pretty accurately. Now, around these studios, I'm going to make sure that we are leaving space for various different sets. So that's going to ultimately be the funnest part of this build, is we're going to have a few different types of sets for different types of filming. And so we will come on to that very shortly. So now I am just going to use a couple of these in front of these. So again, because they're unique assets, we're going to have to use the copy function and cheat a little bit within Move It. We're going to use these to extend out these buildings just like this. So let's spin that round so it's actually connected up to that road, make a little bit more sense. But then we can get some slightly longer looking studios in this area. And as well, we've got these nice stage numbers. They are going to be repeated a little bit in Auridon because I've only got so many of these assets, unfortunately. But I think this will work quite nicely. So we will just add those in like that. And now clearly this one and this needs a road connection. So let's just grab our concrete road again. We'll just bring out a very small bit like that, which should hopefully connect up both of them. In fact, I do need to spin this one round. There we go, so that it's up against this road as well. And then let's just shift that node over slightly so that it's in the middle there. And similarly with this one, I think that should still stay connected. Yes, it does. And then we can do lots of detailing in around this. We'll probably use quite a bit of surface painter here to fill in some of these. And then we'll have some car parking out front, some RVs, some trucks, delivering the various different scenery as needed for all of these different stages. And as well, when it comes to the detail in time-lapse, up against this main road, I have got some other prop assets that I'd like to use here, which are film posters, and these are super cool. So let's actually just spin the sun round so that we can see these properly. So what we do have here is a load of actual film posters, so I would really, really like to use these. We're going to need to turn on a proper tree anarchy for this. But let's just spin these round and see how these can fit onto these walls. And again, this is exactly like we saw in the actual Warner Brothers studios in Los Angeles. But yeah, we'll put on a few different ones of these posters up against this wall. And I'll continue this on in the detail and time lapse. So we'll just do a couple for now and leave it at that. So going back to our studio buildings, I'll continue this on this side. And we'll have quite a few more of these. Again, just having to use Move It to copy these buildings. And it does mean as well that we're going to have an awful lot of unique buildings in here. So what we will want to do at some point is bring in some tourist tours, some walking tours perhaps, potentially even a bus tour through this area. We actually need to do a bus tour around the centre of Auridon. So that will happen at some point, and we'll bring tourists right into the studio so they can see what's going on. So I will just continue filling up some of these spaces with these studio buildings, and I'll do that in a time lapse, and then I'll be right back so that we can crack on with the sets. And so there we go. So just, yeah, dotted in lots of these studio buildings around here. I've actually put in a couple of the Avania warehouses as well, which I thought looked pretty similar to some of the buildings that we saw on Google Earth. A couple of little offices, and yeah, lots more of the studio buildings in a little block round here. Now the other little areas that we have left here is where I want to put some different film sets. And a variety of different things we are going to put in here. So that is what I'm going to concentrate on now. And we are going to start over in this little corner here. So the first set that we are going to be doing is going to be a construction site type set. For all of these sets, it's going to be an awful lot of prop detailing. So that is going to be the focus of it. And the set that I want to try and replicate over here is that one that we saw on Google Earth with a circular wall of containers and a construction site in the middle of it. So I've got an absolute ton of props in here. So we are going to go ahead and do that. So to start off with, we'll lay the containers down in a nice wall. So I am just going to, in fact, you know what, to make things easier, I'm going to head over to Ducky Docks and I'm going to steal one of these container stacks from here. So I'm just going to highlight that stack and hopefully, yeah, that copies all three of them piled up quite nicely. So we'll head back over here and then I'm going to start putting these down in a bit of a circle. So I want the back of the circle to be in this corner really. We need to leave enough space around here for lots of prop detail and backstage type action, but also walls all the way around to give privacy to all of these different film sets, which we'll come and add in the detail and time lapse. So let's just start this off by adding these all in. So I think that sets up a good start to our little area. Now, of course, we want to have some rubbish piles and the such like in here. And we're going to make this quite a kind of dirty, scrappy area, so we'll use quite a lot of decals around this as well. But let's just place in the main elements for now. We are also going to add some of these scaffolding props in here as well, as if like the backdrop, you know, they could CGI on some building effects, that sort of thing, into there. So we'll plop some of those down. I then also want to get in some decals to scuff up the ground as mentioned, so let's do that. In fact, actually, it might look better with some of the sand texture, or even oil actually, because the oil texture here is really nice, the part that we actually got rid of. So yeah, I think we'll use that actually. And then we'll use lots of decals around this to give it the effect that we want. Yeah, this sort of thing in and around it, I think, is what's needed here. And then, of course, let's add some of our construction props to this as well. So we'll definitely have one of these diggers in here. A couple of these, I think. And it would be good, yeah, to get some cranes and the such like too. I think we'll drop this into the backdrop. Maybe over here like that. And then we can have a couple in the foreground as well. Essentially, yeah, like it's some kind of building site. I think, again, just to think about like props that we're going to be putting around this, I think one of these would be quite nice to kind of signify where they're putting props into some of these scenes. So yeah, I think we'll use that, and then let's just grab a few more of these decals to bring this out a little bit further. Now, the next thing that I have also got off the workshop is a load of workmen for this particular scene. So let's go ahead and go and grab them. So again, we can kind of put these down as if they're filming, as if they're extras in the background, doing whatever it is that they need to be doing. We can have a few of these, I think, working on this area. And then what we'll do is have a couple of characters out front that we are going to kind of focus on for what we're doing in the filming, in the scene, essentially. So, yeah, this guy, I'm actually going to use him as a bit of a film runner. So we'll have one of them out there, just on his walkie-talkie as well. This is the type of thing we're going to go and do around all of these sets. And again, there's another guy here with a piece of paper, so I think we'll put him next to there as if they're sort of like looking on at the filming. Now, of course, in order to make it actually feel like a film studio, we are going to need some camera props and such like. So I'm just going to place a few of these kind of boom cameras around to signify that. We'll have a little cameraman here down on the ground as well, and another one over here, just so it can look like we're properly filming. Now I'll have a couple of pieces of equipment over this side, and then I would also like to have a director. So what we will do is actually go to the nature reserve, and we're going to grab the camping chair for this. This was the only thing that I could think to use for this, as if it's like a little director's chair. And now I do have some sitting sim props, so let's go and find them and find someone that we think is appropriate for a director. We could have let's have a lady director, and she can sit on that chair there as if she is directing the film. And then just looking at the other people that we've got, I think we'll have a couple of kind of extras standing out here as well. We'll just have a few of them standing around as if they're ready to go in. Other characters maybe, other film producers as well. So yeah, let's have a few of these in and around this area, just waiting. And I think just as a little added effect too, I'm actually going to grab some of these stairs, which are airport stairs, but I think it will look quite nice if we get this and we put one of our little cameramen up there. So let's grab one of the cameramen and we'll turn him around. We'll just place him in there, and then let's use Move It to raise him up onto this platform. Yeah, so there we go. There's another cameraman up there shooting. So yeah, all in all, this is the type of thing that we want to go for in our little set areas. So I will be building multiple sets like this, and this is just the first one by way of example here. So when we come to the detail in time-lapse, all around this as well, we'll be putting in lots of trucks and containers and things that will kind of store some of these props and that sort of thing. And a few mobile homes, a few RVs for the actors, for the crew, and probably some car parking and the such like as well. Maybe a couple of very, very small office buildings in all around here. So let's go ahead and start thinking about some of the other stages that we want to do. I'm going to head over to here. And the next one I'm going to do is actually like a little bit of a sort of Desperate Housewives Wisteria Lane type thing. So I'm just going to grab the suburban road and join it onto this one here. And I'll just turn off all snapping for the moment. And what we'll do is bring out a nice curvy road almost up to the edge there. And then I'm actually going to put in just a very small circular area like this, which is going to look really weird until we get this sorted. But what I want here is a little bit of an island in the middle of this area that we can do some detailing in. So it has that very kind of cul-de-sac feel to it. So then for this area, what I want is those kind of like Wisteria Lane type looking houses. And I think the best thing to use for this is actually the University Content Creator Pack. And there's these houses, which look absolutely awesome. So I'm just going to go ahead and place in a few of these. Oh yeah, there we go. And then what I will do is just around this, because I feel like that would be appropriate for this kind of set, we'll just put in a few trees, which will buffer some of the noise as well from this factory. Now, I may have to recoat some of these houses because I'm not sure they're going to like all the noise pollution that is right next to them here. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, they may have to just turn it into little prop houses as opposed to being actually where people live. But for this whole area, we're going to have to use our imagination just a little bit to make some of these props kind of come to life. And, you know, this isn't actually a residential neighbourhood. This is a film set. So when it comes to the detailing time-lapse as well, I will just do a bit of detailing around here. And I think we'll probably leave this area without a film crew. So it's just like a kind of dormant set at the moment of a little suburban road. Now over here, what I would like to do, and I have got permission from Overcharged Egg to do this, is a little bit of an ILOS set. So we're going to do a bit of desert, a little bit of a Breaking Bad type feel. So we are firstly just going to adjust some of the terrain here. I'm just going to put in some really small mounds, just like that, I think. And now actually, just before I do this, I do actually want to put in the wall around here because I think it's going to be important that you see that for the vibes that we're going to go for. So I'm going to add the wall in from here. We're just using the concrete retaining wall for this, which I think when we raise up the nodes for it, gives quite a nice kind of, it's similar colour to the studio buildings that we're using. It gives that kind of vibe of a film studio, somewhere that's a little bit private, that type of thing. And we'll just raise this up quite a long way actually. So the retaining wall can go pretty high. I think that feels about right as a bit of a privacy wall. Definitely something you can't see over. And as mentioned, when I come to the detailing time-lapse, I will be putting movie posters all around that, so you won't see that. Did I hear again? I'm thinking actually, even though I got rid of all of the oil texture, I'm just going to put in a bit more here. We'll turn the brush stroke up for this, and we'll just cover this area as we're going to be putting sand decals down. So let's go ahead and find our sand decals, and then I'll just plop these all in around this area. Now, from this road as well, underneath these sand decals, one thing that does look really good is this mud dirt road. So I am actually just going to kind of loop this on through as if it's going, because yeah, underneath the sand decals it leaves these little tiny muddy patches and I think it just looks really cool. So yeah, we'll do that. And then around this we of course want to add in some of that desert ILOS foliage. So we have got some saguaras that we can add in. We'll dot a few of these around. And I will also use some dry grass as well for this. So we do have this savanna grass, which I think if we just make this a tiny bit smaller, it fits in quite nicely with that kind of desert theme. And I'll come and tidy this up a bit in the detail and time lapse. Then the main feature of what I want to put in here is actually one of these RVs and a little bit of a kind of Breaking Bad style theme here. I'm actually going to hang some washing out just at the back end of it. And I think we will also have this kind of trash pile in the middle with some fire over it as well. So let's get the fire prop, yeah, just like that, which I think looks nice. We could also do smoke in addition to that. A little bit of smoke going up from there. I think, yeah, might look not too bad. We'll also get some old oil barrels and the such like as well. So we'll have some on their sides and just, yeah, detail up this area a little bit like a Breaking Bad style theme. And then what I will do is find some characters that we can put into here. So I have got this guy, like warming his hands by the fire, so I think I might use him. I think we'll have him stood by the RV right here. In fact, let's just spin that round. Is there a door? Yeah, the door's on this side, so I think that makes a little bit more sense. We'll have him stood by the door, just like that. And then what we will do in the detailing time-lapse, of course, is come in and put the film crew all around here again as well. And add in a few more saguaros and a few more props around here. We could even add in another little area for a scene in a different location as well. So yeah, that is the type of thing that we'll put into that little scene there. And again, we'll fill all of these areas with lots of trucks and containers, maybe a couple of small offices and mobile homes, that sort of thing. That'll be the same theme around all of these sets. There's lots of storage for people bringing in and out the props for these different scenes. So the next one I want to tackle is a pretty basic one, which is going to be a haunted house. And we are just going to go ahead and use the haunted house asset actually from the amusement park. So we'll just add that in. And then I will just grab a really simple, in fact, actually, we'll use the park life roads as paths here. Yeah, the natural one we'll use for this, and we'll just connect it into that corner like that. And I am actually just going to bring out another connection, if I can make this step into the middle here. We'll just bring that out and round here, because what I would like to do over here as well is do a little bit of something extra into this scene and use some of the 1x1 low density residential assets, because some of these sort of look like tiny little creepy houses that you might find in the woods. So yeah, that's what we're going to go for here. I'm just going to do this really small kind of like little, very deep in the haunted forest woods community over this side. And actually we can trim this back a little bit, doesn't need to be quite as far as that. So we can use some surface painter here. I think we'll use a tiny bit of gravel surface painter just to create an area for these houses in front of that road there. And then of course let's fill this all with forest. Oh, yeah, there we go, we've got a tiny little cult village and our creepy haunted house over in this little area surrounded by that woodland there. So that's a full set to add to the mix. Now I've just got 2 more to go, and one of them is going to be a little historical set, which I will just go ahead and place in now. We're going to use some of the 1x1 high density European assets for this, these little buildings, and just lining some nice cobblestone streets over here. And so there we go. So I've just put in 2 little cobblestone streets. They're one way, so we'll just do a little bit of market detailing, some of those historical market assets that were used on Lord Eggsy's Island. We'll put those in the middle there and do a nice bit of street detailing for a historical area here. And the reason why I like these assets is because they're super narrow, so it does make them feel a little bit like they could be those kind of frontage boards to a film set. That's sort of what I was trying to go for here with this little historical curved street there. So I think that looks all right. And then the final set that I want to come on to is something actually pretty mental. And that is going to be a futuristic cyberpunk set. So now for this, I have had to go pretty asset workshop heavy. Not building assets, of course, just props. But let's have a little look at what we've got. I've got these massive walls here, which is absolutely something that I would like to use. So I'm going to kind of create a little street area using these walls. And then we will build in a load of props around these. So we'll add in a couple of these larger walls just right in behind these ones, which then just adds a bit of height to this pretty mental futuristic set here. Now I have also got the cyberpunk shop front faces as well, so I'm going to line these up all around the bottom of this area. And then I have also got these little diner kiosks as well, which I'd really like to use here. It looks like that's kind of a door there, so I might actually keep that free. And we'll just put 2 of these in, just like that for now. So little kiosks sticking out there. And we do have one more that I think I will put right in the middle here as well. We'll actually put 2 of these in back to back, I think, to create a nice little sort of circle effect there. And then I also have these kind of like bright LED signs as well, which I'd quite like to use in here. So I'm going to go ahead again and put some of these in around these walls. Again, just to give us this really bright kind of LED lit futuristic style city space here. So I think that will do nicely. And this is probably going to absolutely ruin Auridon's frame for me with all of these crazy assets in here. But I think that will do. Now, in terms of the scene I want to add in here, let's go ahead and surface paint this concrete. So we will just do that all in pavement style right up to there. And then we will definitely add some stain decals to this, just to completely rough off this surface. I think that just makes this texture an awful lot nicer. So then in terms of the scene, what I would really like here is this kind of like police robot battle. I know that sounds like pretty bad. We're going to have these 2 robots here. I've then got a load of these like SWAT assets. So we're going to put in an absolute ton of these policemen just like this. We'll have this guy with the shield, I think, right up front. A couple of these guys right up there. And yeah, lots of different police kind of surrounding them with guns, different standpoints. A couple of these guys further back as well. Maybe a couple of snipers, that sort of thing. And then I do also now have, yeah, police helicopter. So I think I will put that in too. We'll put that in right there. And in terms of other things within this scenery, I also have these pretty cool decal blocks here, kind of old scuffed up graffiti blocks, which actually look pretty awesome. So yeah, quite pleased with how these ones look. And we're going to just create a couple of small areas using these. Just use a couple of barriers like that. And then what I would like is some kind of like wreckage scene, essentially, that the robots have left behind them. So I'm going to put a car down here with some fire markers. And we'll do actually a couple of fire markers for this. We'll also get smoke going. We'll get a nice big puff of smoke going in there. And I am actually going to do a couple of these. So we'll get lots of craziness going on in this area. So yeah, just like that. And then when it comes to the detailed time-lapse, again, I'll add in the film crew around here and make that all super nice and realistic. But this, I absolutely love this area. I think it's pretty mad, all this cyberpunk stuff. And actually, I'm really pleased I've got to play with it just a little bit in Auridon. Because yeah, futuristic city, Auridon is not. But hey, we've got a futuristic film set in Auridon now. So that is all of the main film sets that I want to do. So we have actually got 6 in total in here, which I think is quite nice. And we've got obviously tons of studios around that. So all that's really left now is to go through and do a detailing time lapse. So I will go and place 1,000 props again, and I'll be right back. Okay, so there we have it, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. And I'm absolutely loving this little Auridon sign here. I have put a park area around it and called it Auridon Point. We can think of better names for that if you've got any suggestions. I put a little nature reserve park here as well so that people will actually walk down here, hopefully, and visit the sign area. But I'm just actually loving how it looks now with the city in the background, with this area all now kind of filled out. You can actually still see the archway over there as well, Lord Eggsy's castle, all the lights, Blunder Dome, obviously. Oh yes, I'm really quite liking how the skyline is coming together, particularly with this side out the front as well. So let's just take a little look at what we've got. So I added in scaffolding all the way around here to make it feel a little bit more like a film set. And yeah, added in obviously the film crew here, a couple more bushes, kind of smoothed out some of the landscaping, some of the hills that we put in here to add a little extra effect. But yeah, we've got lots of film crew around this kind of Breaking Bad style scene here now. So liking how that looks. Clearly all around the entire studios we've done loads of trucks and trailers, delivering all the sceneries, all the props for the different film sets. We've done little tents dotted around as well for hospitality areas for the crew. And the stars. We've got a little helicopter here as well. I was thinking one of the Breaking Bad stars arrived in a helicopter. I've got cranes for moving things around as well, and some prop service vehicles too. Just thinking like safety wise. They've got a big fire going here. They'll probably have a fire engine sat outside. I've added little security gates at various different points around the complexes and some CCTV cameras as well. Really like those little props. We've got lots of parking dotted around too. The odd car, we use some of the sports cars as well for like the stars turning up, but lots of props around all of these stages, trucks delivering things. Clearly we've added in the posters as well, which I think decorate it up really nicely. Down in Wisteria Lane, as I'm calling it, we've done just a very small scene here, a couple of people talking outside this house, lots of crew standing around with the different film cameras, etc. A little bit of detail in the middle here and a couple of extra flowers dotted around, but that's really it for that area. Keep it nice and simple. Again, much of the same around here, these stain decals, lots and lots of trailers, crates, little security checkpoints. Around the big globe in the roundabout, I've just added a little bit of tiling just to give that a slightly nicer look and feel to it. But again, it really is, yeah, much of the same all over. Added in a couple of offices here, little bits of parking with some nice wall just to frame off those car parking areas. Lots of props and the such like here. I've got lots of trash at the back here that I thought they could use to add into the scenery for whatever scene is going on around here as well. Little builder's theme. Lots of RVs for the stars dotted around as well. And then coming onto here, yeah, we've added in scaffolding all the way around the back of this to make it look a little bit more like a film set. Again, much the same here, just lots and lots of props to look like they're delivering scenery to the different areas. And yeah, over in here I've added in a few more props around just to make it feel a little bit more realistic. Some street lights for lighting up in the dark, some of these car parking spaces with these bollards and lots of benches, make it feel a little bit more like an actual street scene. Liking how that one turned out. And then yeah, very much more of the same around all of these studio blocks, tons and tons of just containers and trucks, car parking spaces, crates and other scenery style props, adding a little bits of fencing here and there just to frame it off. And we have got quite a few of these little mobile homes as well that I thought could be little dressing rooms for the stars, for whatever TV shows they're recording in there. And yeah, that's kind of it really. Lots and lots of props. Oh, I did come down here. We've added in some fence to frame off this area, a little bit of undergrowth around this creepy Blair Witch style housing project there, and the haunted house clearly too as well. But yeah, I think it's come together quite nicely. I am loving actually how this road looks with all the posters down it. It's very, very much like Warner Brothers in Hollywood, particularly when we've got this gate here. And as a completely happy coincidence as well, the Collins Street Tower is perfectly lined up with this gate and this road coming through the studios here. So that was pure coincidence, but I'm actually loving how that is aligned. And then we just go on to the residential areas. I've just done basic detailing around here. We've got some park areas, just some walking paths flowing through, some trees. I've tidied up this path a bit, added in a few more connections there. It's like a small little plaza area around the metro station. And then coming over here as well, very much the same. This needs a little bit more detailing. We need some more fencing in here and some more street props lining the streets. But it's a super busy area. And actually our population has massively increased to, well, it was actually up to 59,000. So it's dropped a little bit. but it has helped a bit. We've still got massive residential demand, so we'll continue getting in more residents in future episodes, but we're starting to get that industrial demand up, which is good news. So just to finish off for today, we do need to put in some districts and do some naming. So over here, I am going to just give this district with all the residential areas that we will tidy up on streams and in future episodes here. I'm going to put a district over this, and I am going to name this after a really special Patreon, and that is Tina6993. She has been a really early supporter of mine on Twitch. Original subscriber, top tier patron, so thank you so much, Tina, for all of your support, and I hope you like Tina6993 Towers District, where we've got a lot of our downtown high density residential in there. So thank you so much for your support, it means the absolute world to me. So I hope you like this little district, and we'll continue detailing this up on future streams. Back over here as well, I did say that we would give this area a name, so let's just put in a nice big district here. And actually, I also do need to name this little waterfront area as well. So we'll just put in a district here. Lots of naming going on today. So firstly, this is going to be the ugly waterfront. I just think it has to be over the debate over the Blunderdome. So yeah, we'll do that. And then over here, now there were so many good suggestions for this. It was really hard for me to pick. But actually, there was one suggestion which came from probably about 10 different people, the same suggestion. So I think we are going to have to go with that on a popular basis. And it is a great name as well, so I absolutely love it. And that is Auridon, because clearly we used a lot of the Florida coastline as an inspiration here for these little waterfront residential houses. So I think that fits quite nicely for our Auridon district here. And then finally coming over to the studios. Now I will leave it up to you guys to think of some name suggestions for this, so please do drop them in the comments. I'm kind of like, I was just going to go for Auridon Film Studios, something boring like that, but if someone can come up with something more original, we will give it a super fun, super snazzy name on a future episode. So have a think about that and drop your suggestions into the comments for our Auridon Film Studios here. And I have to say, this is literally the funnest thing that I've ever built in Cities Skylines. Doing all of these little tiny sets here. We actually didn't look at the little historical street, did we? There we go. I've put in historical marketplaces here. Nice cobblestone streets lining it. And some street trees. But it was just so much fun to build, and I really like the way it has turned out with this mix of vanilla buildings and this studio film pack from the workshop, and just an absolute ton of props. I also think the factories are actually working really well in here, looking like studio buildings, and the big warehouse in particular. So yeah, it was just super fun, and I really hope you guys have enjoyed it. Something a little bit different for Auridon here. But again, just a shout out to Bobby London for that suggestion, because that really sparked this inspiration in my mind. So yeah, thank you. And keep those suggestions coming for future builds, because I do read your comments. So let me know. Let me know what you think, and we will take it from there. But for today, that is going to be it. If you have enjoyed the video, please consider dropping me a like below. It really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm and is always really appreciated. Drop me a comment as well, which also helps. Let me know any suggestions, name suggestions for the area, suggestions for future builds. Did you enjoy it? Let me know. But that is it for now. So thank you again for tuning in and for all of the support on the last couple of videos. I really appreciate it. And I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.